is good? And good morning, defenders. What a night at BMO Stadium, the US Open Cup final, and the cup stays home. We wanted the cup, we got the cup, and this episode 329, is all about the cup. What an incredible night. You know my voice. It's the Scarf, J.R. Liebert, and we get to celebrate LAFC being the 2024 US Open Cup champions. The we that I talk about is, of course, not just me, but my partner in pod in world-famous Philomonster Studios at 1:10 in the morning, one Christian Philly Philemon.
Hello, 1 a.m., my old friend. We were so excited, jubilant, overjoyed, relieved, dare I say relieved, that we couldn't wait to give y'all a pod because it just wouldn't have felt right. We wanted to be in the feelings, in the moments. We didn't want to go through the minute-by-minute recap. We wanted to talk about the actual game, the feelings. There's just so much stuff to unwrap and unwind. And I'm also very curious to see how many of you crazies are up there that are going to be here with us. But, man, it feels good. But that was a game that had us all on the edge of our seats. I was getting flashback 2022 MLS Cup final vibes, Scarf. I was dreading the idea of going into penalties, but thank you, Omar Campos, thank you, Kai Kamara, thank you, LAFC. Now we don't look at the acronym as losing another finals club. We're looking at LAFC as Los Angeles effing champions, baby.
Philly, I got to say, to me, this match helps exercise some of those demons, not all. Certainly, it's one trophy, and we still, we know looking in the rear view, we lost a few. But to me, it not only helps us exercise the demons, to me, it also helps set the tone moving forward. Look, we have a bit of a gauntlet with Cincinnati and St. Louis. We're going to Cincinnati. St. Louis is coming here. Those are two very good teams. But again, to me, what this trophy means is it's a little bit of indication for Steve Cherundolo. It'll silence for now a lot of those dolo out people, because you know what? We've now lifted our only two trophies under Steve Cherundolo's guidance. But again, the other thing that it does is it starts to soften that mentality that was starting to be written, the narrative. And to me, again, this is a massive, massive moment in club history.
No, I agree. I mean, it rightens the ship. We had that little downward winless in 5 games, whatever the streak it was. Again, it's 1 a.m. I'm tired, but I'm happy too. This was good. This is not only good for the ownership, the front office. Obviously, this was great for the players. It's great for all of us as supporters of this team. And in the presser, when Steve was asked, how did the boys feel? Was it more relief or was it joy? And he said it was absolute joy. They came in wanting to win this game. They played as hard as they could in order to get that trophy in front of the home crowd, and it's got to feel good. If you look at the social medias right now, you got Lewis O'Brien doing a slip and slide and Michelob Ultralight in the locker room. It's a fun, festive vibe. There's still so much more work that has to be done, so much more season left. But for the time being, at the very least between now and the game against FC Cincinnati, let's enjoy this, because it was a long run into this. I mean, starting back May 21st, Scarf, and I'll tell you this, you've been a huge proponent of the US Open Cup. I was more for the Leagues Cup because I got to learn more about Liga MX's teams, and I was more thrilled about that than dealing with the likes of Loudoun United and New Mexico. And by the way, shout out to all the fan bases there. Great people, but it does feel good to win a trophy, and I'm just so relieved, dude.
Philly, I'll say it even more. This goes back to last year, losing several finals. This year, losing Leagues Cup, and being able to right that mentality, to right the ship. It was one loss after another that really became sort of our identity over about a year and a half or so. And it is so nice to see. And if you don't think Steve Cherundolo cares, if you think he's just sitting over there on the sidelines, twiddling his thumbs, or not, being passionate enough as a coach, you watch what happens after that third goal when Kai Kamara and everybody goes to celebrate in that corner over there, and all of a sudden, on Kai Kamara's back, jumping up and down with everybody else, is Steve Cherundolo. I really think, and he says it in the press conference in a way that makes you believe him. He says he doesn't care one way or the other. He's fine with results.
Lies.
But he absolutely cares. He absolutely wants every single match, every single trophy. And again, he has now been our boss for the 2 trophies that we have lifted, and he has put us in position to win a whole bunch more. And I'm sorry, I just don't see it for all of those Dolo out people now, especially tonight. If you look at the strings that were pulled, yes, I know it's 12th place in MLS Sporting Kansas City, but you got to throw some of that stuff out when a trophy is on the line. Sporting played a hell of a match for the first 90 minutes or so. Unfortunately, they broke at the wrong time. And for LAFC, a 3-1 victory. I don't know who called it, but someone on this show did. Let's go.
Yo, give me lottery numbers now. I want to start playing them. There's like, what, 259 million out there that needs to be won. You're on point. Scarfstradamus is back in the house. Called 3-1, called Christian Oliveira having a big game, and true to form, when Oliveira came in, this game completely opened. We had 3 dynamic forwards up top taking care of business, made the game exciting. So after we get off this pod here, you got to give me those numbers. But, I mean, yeah, for the I don't want to go into the Dolo out people, but the only thing I will say is this. If you are going to pin the losses on Dolo, then you had better pin the wins on him too, because he beat Peter Vermees today. And, yes, like Scarf said, I've never, 12th place team, I've never felt so good beating a 12th place team. In a final, it doesn't matter what happened before you. It really goes out the window. X's and O's. Home field advantage comes into play, which the 32-52 was roaring. On a Wednesday night, it felt electric. It felt like playoff atmosphere. It felt like a vibe that we hadn't seen since postseason. Everything about tonight was great, other than the Timothy Tillman turnover that led to the first goal by Sporting Kansas City. But Los Angeles, the city of champions, add another one to your list. Here we are, LAFC, breaking hearts, setting trends, U.S. Open Cup champions, baby.
I would like to point out, while Scarfstradamus did get the score and Kike Oliveira had a great game, my Sporting Kansas City player to watch didn't even play in the match. So there is still that. That was fun. Danny Rosero, thanks, buddy. Look, the other thing, too, I think that means so much is that we defended the bank. And I'm not just using that in a tongue-in-cheek way because we're the defenders of the bank. We defended BMO Stadium tonight. We did not allow a Sporting Kansas City, or anybody else for that matter, we did not allow them to come into our stadium, our home, our fortress of solitude, and do anything of the sort, like take a trophy away or take our hearts away or take momentum away. Sure, there were some nervous moments when it got to be 1-1. But for the most part, LAFC dominated defensively. Most of Sporting's chances were from outside the box. There were a couple of moments of consternation, sure, but we defended BMO Stadium. We defended Los Angeles and Philly. It just feels good. You mentioned the 32-52, how raucous and loud and just unreal they were. The drums seemed louder. Probably because, Philly, they were mic'd up, right? That's for sure what it was. The drums were louder. Everything was louder. But I think at the end, to watch the 32-52 be able to lift that trophy as well. We saw it on the capo stand there at the end of the match. I mean, just amazing scenes. Shout out to everybody in the 32-52. We know Tony's in the chat. Several other of you, we know you listen to the pod. Absolutely crushed it tonight. The 32-52 was incredible.
Yeah, it was such a great vibe, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I mean, it feels good. It's just so nice to remove the toxicity from the air. We were all feeling the pressure of these scenarios where our team would end up in finals and just crumble under the pressure. Just grew tired about talking about this type of thing on the podcast. Grew tired of hearing of it. We all don't agree, and that's what makes all of this fun. In some cases, like I've called out comments that I've thought are idiotic, and I know all y'all aren't going to agree with everything we say, nor should you. But if there's anything we do agree on, is the fact that, look, we all love this club and we want it to succeed. So at the very least, that's something that I really appreciate at nights like tonight is we all get to celebrate. It's the small victories that count. And for those that don't think that this is an important trophy, for those who want to say the goals are offside, for those that want to say that the referees, screwed Sporting Kansas City, for those that think, oh, Chivas USA finally won the trophy. I don't have enough middle fingers to address all of y'all, but I do have two right here. So if you're watching, for you naysayers out there, I know we're family friendly. If you're listening to it, doesn't matter. If you're watching, this is for all you haters and you doubters out there. We have an Open Cup trophy now. We're continuing to add to our trophy cabinet, and now we're going to head in and start taking care of business on Saturday.
Christian Philemon is the only person I know that can get away with saying, I know we're family friendly, while both his middle fingers are in the air on YouTube. Love you, my man, for that. Thank you. Look, we knew what it would be, right? We knew it would be a Peter Vermees-led club that likes to make it a grind, that likes to really press and drop and make things difficult for LAFC. We know about Daniel Shalhoub. We know about Johnny Russell. We know about Alan Pulido. We continue to hear against LAFC from Eric Tommy. It's always Tim Melia in goal. But honestly, to be perfectly fair and frank, if not for the one turnover, and we will get into the game wrap up, we will get into the not quite a minute by minute breakdown, but certainly talk about the goals, talk about a couple of other moments in the match that really do stand out. But to me, Philly, it was another dominating defensive performance by LAFC. My man of the match, personally, Sergi Palencia, who was absolutely incredible, came off of his wingback role and started the maybe 90th minute, 91st minute, maybe even before that, as part of our three in the back, really playing center back after Eddie Segura and Aaron Long both went off. Sergi Palencia was unbelievable tonight, and I was so glad I got to be able to ask him a question in the press conference about how amazing he was. And guys, one of the reasons that we're starting so late, it's unreal. One of the reasons that we're starting so late is they just kept bringing out player after player after player. I mean, Hugo Lloris, Olivier Giroud, Ryan Hollingshead, Sergi Palencia, Lewis O'Brien, Kai Kamara, Coach Steve Cherundolo. I mean, we practically got a sit down with the entire roster on LAFC, and they all, you could just see. You could see the relief, the joy, and when they had to talk about, turning around Philly and playing Cincinnati in just a couple of days, a little bit of dread on their faces, of course, but they better celebrate tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah, I saw this in the chat. Where was it here? LAFC vet, two Sporting Kansas City, well played. They really brought it, and their fans are class. They brought out a pretty big contingent. The supporters section that's normally reserved for the away team was pretty filled. And another section right next to it was pretty filled. I mean, similar to what Carson would bring up for the rivalry. Sporting Kansas City had a good crowd that was there. And people from the Midwest, I tell you, for the most part, friendly, classy. I had no issues with them. They really turned out, which is a good thing. What was funny is when the team, Sporting Kansas City, went into the corner as LAFC was stepping up to get their trophies and get near the U.S. Open Cup, they wanted to say thank you to their fans. The fans are nowhere to be found, at least not in that section. So I thought that was kind of funny. But, I mean, it was a really good atmosphere, man. We got these little bracelets that I still have on that kept changing colors. The music was great. The national anthem singer was fantastic. I don't know if I'm just old and uncool, but I had no idea who the person was that was singing in the beginning of the game and at halftime. And a lot of these artists that They're starting to trot along outside, just off the pitch. Like, I don't know who AD is. Does that make me uncool? Just so many musical artists that I have no idea who they are. It's cool that they're there, but man, it's kind of odd when they're wearing championship rings from the 2022 season, in particular when they weren't there. But anyway, I digress.
If you press the button, it changes color. I didn't know that until just now.
Yeah.
No,
it does all kinds of things. As we're driving, it even has like one of these like seizure things where it's like part, like that.
Yeah, I mean, guys, shiny objects right now for Philly and I. This is becoming a thing. That being said, the other thing I want to say is special thank you to the legal team over at Sporting Kansas City for this really cool US Open Cup scarf.
The legal team, huh?
Yeah, I got it from the legal team. And the cool part is it is technically a split scarf. There's Sporting's crest. And then on the other side, that's us. So cool. You guys know me. I saw a scarf that I didn't know. And I hung out with that scarf. And thank you to the
you hung out with that scarf.
Yeah, it's right here. Thank you to the legal team of Sporting Kansas City, obviously. And I do, Philly, you and I have to give a special shout out to Carlos. Look, the PR,
happy birthday, by the way, buddy.
Happy birthday. The PR staff is amazing. There's another one. It's pretty cool. I actually, it's early on in the episode. I just want to say too, Carlos, I'm going to talk about not that Carlos, actually, Carlos O'Day, who's involved with the LAFC, the unified team. More on that. I got an incredibly special scarf. I'm rambling right now. I apologize. I got an incredibly special scarf from Carlos that I'm going to talk about on our next episode because we want to keep this one focused right now on the US Open Cup. But I have another one to share with you guys next match. I don't even know.
Scarf for the scarf. Shocking.
Yeah. So look, Philly, shall we begin to get one more thing. Sorry. Michael Johnson, the honorary Falconer. I mean, the visions of him running the 400 on that turn when he just hit it with the gold shoes in the 96 Olympics in Atlanta. Oh my God. Michael Johnson as our honorary Falconer. I got chills. He is an absolute idol of mine. I couldn't run the 400 in as many minutes as he ran it in seconds, but
it would take you 400 minutes to run the 400.
It really would. You're not wrong. It was absolutely incredible to see him there as our honorary Falconer. A huge moment. I mean, just awesome. So wanted to give that a quick shout out too.
Yeah, no, I love it. I mean, we could ramble on all day. Let's just obviously not going minute by minute, but yeah, let's talk about the game and talk about the key moments, the joys, the jubilations, the horror, because there was some horror there, the anxiety. Yeah. Let's get into it, man.
Philly, I think it starts. Look, we can get into Sporting's lineup if you want, but all the main characters were there: Alan Pulido, Daniel Shalhoub, Eric Tommy, Johnny Russell, Jake Davis, all the guys that we knew would contribute. I really enjoyed watching number 18, Logan and Denbe play. One of your former NYCFC boys, Kyrie Shelton, was out there on the pitch, and of course, he's listed at 6'1", but I'm not quite sure. Andy in the chat, what's up, brother?
We haven't been a nocturnal podcast in so long, but now that we've gone OG, thanks for being in the chat.
Dude, Andy and I left the press conference, less than an hour ago. That's how long that press conference lasted.
I had to get home earlier than that, man. I had Panda waiting for me. Panda's got to be up in 3 hours. There's no way I was going to be able to keep her waiting at BMO Stadium for this to get done. I'm surprised we're doing this 1:30 in the morning. And I'm just as surprised to see as many of you, by the way, online as well. Are y'all out partying, having a good time? Anybody drinking? Anybody at the bar? Or is everybody just home and just hopped up on excitement, caffeine, and energy? I'd like to know.
Yeah, look, all about it. Philly, you want to go through the LAFC lineup real quick, and that way we set the scene?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. The big surprise was the omission of Edward Atuesta, and Steve addressed it in the presser. Edward took a knock in training, not anything that's going to keep him out for an extended period of time. He wasn't even on the media guide out list, so that was a surprise. It was bad enough to not enable him to play today. It shouldn't be anything that would render him not being able to play down the road. So I believe he should be ready, rested, and good to go for that game at TQL Stadium against FC Cincinnati. So just That's one thing we had to address real quick. And of course, Jesus David Murillo was not there. He was in the stands having a darn good time, though, that's for sure. As was Carlos Vela, rocking jeans and his LAFC kit. So in between the sticks, Hugo Lloris.
Apparently David Ochoa was having a really good night tonight too with some micheladas.
Oh, well, all right. Well, good on him. He didn't have to worry about too much. Thomas Asal was there. Hugo Lloris in between the pipes. He had a hell of a game. I mean, I know there's people out there that have talked trash on Hugo Lloris. Hugo Lloris can make some really good saves. He's great at distributing the ball. I'd love to know who anybody out there who hates on Hugo Lloris thinks would be a suitable replacement for him. I don't know how many World Cup winners are available, but I'd like to know. So feel free to drop that in the chat as well. Eddie Segura, Maxime Chanot, Aaron Long, by the way, Chanot, I can't help. I got caught in it, Scarf. When the public address announcer gets on there and, he calls out the starting lineup. Anytime I hear Maxime, I just instantly think Crepo. And I got caught with it today. I got caught. I said Crepo instead of Chanot. Anyways, moving on. Sergei Palencia, Timothy Tillman, Lewis O'Brien, Ryan Hollingshead up in the middle of that 3-4-3. Then up top, Matty Bogusz, Olivier Giroud, and Denis Bouanga. The subs that would end up coming off of the bench, we would have Omar Campos, who had the game of his LAFC life. Christian Oliveira, another amazing game. Ilie Sanchez going up against his former club. He was there during that 2017 U.S. Open Cup run where they won. Kai Kamara, he got in. Boy, did he have a heck of a game. He won a U.S. Open Cup in 2012 with Sporting Kansas City. And oh, wait, our new center back, Marlon, got into the game as well. I saw in the chat people saying, hey, maybe we should give him a chance. Slowly but surely. Absolutely. We brought him on for a reason, and that reason being is Murillo's not going to be around for a little bit. Marlon will see how he adapts, but I was watching him during the huddles when they were doing the hydration breaks in between the extra time, and he's hugging some of the guys. Like, he already seems very integrated into the squad. Either that or he's just a very loving and affectionate teammate. Either way, the chemistry is there. That's LAFC for you.
Yeah, and look, I think with what we've seen from Eddie Segura over the last month or so, Marlon getting a little bit of extra run wouldn't surprise anybody down the stretch. What we saw from Sergi Palencia today might take some minutes away from Eddie Segura if Sergi Palencia is going to continue to play center back the way he did. Philly, the first half, it was a good old-fashioned chess match, boxing match, call it what you will, a 0-0 first half that was, look, it was nervy at times. It was well played at times. I think obviously, everyone's highlight of the first half was the attempt by Olivier Giroud in the 41st minute that, took a hell of a save by Tim Melia. That thing had an XG, by the way, of 0.45. So that means 45% of the time it's a goal. And I mean, that was an incredible, that was an incredible moment. Obviously, a couple of attempts from outside the box for Sporting, and really not much else, if we're being honest, in that first half.
No, not at all. I mean, there was a couple of attempts that were made on Hugo Lloris, but I mean, he took care of business. Alan Polito had that shot in the 9th minute. Johnny Russell, who took a shot outside of the box. But yeah, it was a grudge match for the first 45 minutes. Anxiety, nerve-inducing, all that. And for a team that normally operates under transition, LAFC went into the locker room with the vast majority of the ball possession. 7 shots, 3 shots on target. Just one real big opportunity, which you alluded to, Olivier Giroud's. Accurate passing was there. I would say we played okay. There were moments where I thought, all right, this is a little unnerving. There were moments where Olivier Giroud's touch wasn't there. There were things that, occurred where I was like, what happened to the guy that I used to watch play at Chelsea, Arsenal, hell, even AC Milan in France? It wasn't there, but he would silence the critics up relatively quickly as we get into the second half.
Yeah, who would have thought a tap in from Olivier Giroud in the final would be what would set LAFC on the right path? Just 8 minutes in to the second half. There were no changes at the half. A little bit of a surprise there. We thought there might be no changes at the half. Both Sergi and Matty Bogusz wind up getting an assist on this one, but it was a good old-fashioned just pinballer there in the box. And obviously Olivier in the right place at the right time. He had mentioned something about he had expected the ball from Matty Bogusz just to a minute or so earlier and was a little bit frustrated, but he mentioned keeping his head in the game is what he said, as both Hugo and Olivier were at the podium. But really cool to see Olivier. I think Philly, he's a player. He needs good service, right, to stay involved and focused in the match. But to see him, despite not really having great service so far, stay in the match like that, score the goal, get us on the score sheet, that's what we should expect out of this veteran presence.
No, absolutely. And you could tell, I mean, I wrote this down right around the 20th minute when there was a play that was inside the boxes. They were trying to get the ball to Olivier Giroud. You could tell by his body language at times that he's frustrated, he's annoyed, but not in the sense it's like, what's the deal here? Like, he clearly wants to contribute. I feel like at times he rushes his opportunities. It just, the game doesn't come to him. I remember we were chatting with Max Bredos in the press box at halftime. I'm just like, Olivier just, he's rushing too much. He just needs to let the ball come to him. And I'm like, wow, that's the most JV assistant basketball coach thing I think I've ever said. Way to go with the analysis, Philly. But I mean, it's true. It's true. The Olivier that's been in Europe is just a stone cold killer, a stone cold assassin. But it was good to see him get on the score sheets. A lot of that transpired as a result of the defense that Maxime Chenot played. Eric Tommy went down. He was complaining to the refs. Hell, he was even complaining about it in the press conference. I didn't know Germans to be that much of a complainer and a crybaby. I'll talk about stuff like that later. But Eddie Segura had the heads up to not just let the play kind of die. He took it forward, got the ball over to Palencia to Bogusz, catching Giroud. That's how the play occurred. So had it not been for the stand-up defense of Chenot, we're not looking at a goal in the 53rd minute.
Yeah, and it wasn't offside, by the way. So everybody needs to stop with that.
And again, I got all the middle fingers in the world for people that are saying that's offside.
For good measure, he did wind up picking a yellow card just a couple minutes later for a foul on Eric Tommy. So maybe Eric was just a little bitter for being fouled by Olivier Giroud. But, as much as Eric Tommy wants to complain, if there's anybody on Sporting that could raise a couple of eyebrows and could certainly complain because of what they also contributed to the match, I mean, the German, Eric Tommy, Philly, was, to me, probably the best player on the pitch over the first 60 minutes wearing a Sporting Kansas City jersey. I thought that Eric Tommy continued to be relentless against LAFC. And unfortunately, Philly, an hour in, Eric Tommy draws us level.
Yeah, I was so angry at this moment. You had Olivier Giroud score. It was just, you didn't feel calm about it, but you also didn't feel as nervous as you did prior to the goal. Terrible turnover by Timothy Tillman, getting stripped by Alan Polito. That ends up leading to a Sporting Kansas City counter. Johnny Russell connects with Daniel Shallowy, who connects with Eric Tommy for the equalizer near side, beating Hugo. Terrible turnover by Timothy Tillman. And all he had to do was look up. There were plenty of opportunities throughout the game where he was looking to go more backwards than forwards. Giroud was wide open in front of him, but he clearly didn't see him because as he cut towards the middle of the pitch, that passing lane closed really quick. And then if you saw it from the elevated angle from the perspective of the Sporting Kansas City goal, kind of on the bottom of the screen, he had Giroud open as well. And so he missed out on those opportunities. And to have Sporting Kansas City score, that was a classic resemblance of what Steve has said all season long. We allow teams to beat us by us making the mistakes themselves. We gift wrapped it to Sporting Kansas City. And that's the last thing that we needed to do, was get them involved in the game and get their section of supporters up there. Giving them a shred of hope was a very dangerous thing that late in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the frustrating part is we saw it with the one Aaron Long mistake when he got dispossessed last match, and then they're able to capitalize on it for a goal here. Timothy Tillman, one bad turnover in the middle of the park, and unfortunately Sporting's able to capitalize on it for a goal. And what has been so frustrating for the supporters of the black and gold isn't that we make those mistakes and a club scores on us. It's that we haven't been able to do anything to answer once we make one of those mistakes and a club scores on us. It's that we will just wind up drawing that match 1-1, or we will wind up losing that match 2-1, or whatever it might be. The response from LAFC has been lackluster. And I think what we were most excited about, what we were most relieved about, is that we saw LAFC respond, and respond, in my opinion, because of the buttons that Steve Cherundolo pressed. After the goal and after Eddie Segura gets kind of a bad yellow card in the 64th minute, Steve didn't wait. I think we have seen Steve wait a little bit too long with some substitutions. Maybe he waits to the 70th, 75th, 80th minute sometimes, but not with this one. In the 67th minute, and I know you're like, oh, that's just 3 minutes earlier. Still, 3 minutes is 3 minutes. 67th minute, Kike Oliveira comes on.
That's what
And
you say that often, JR. 3 minutes is 3 minutes.
67th minute, Kike Oliveira comes on. 67th minute, Omar Campos comes on. And my thing is this, Philly. It's not just that they come on, but with all due respect to Olivier Giroud and Eddie Segura, who came off, LAFC got boatloads faster on the pitch by bringing on Kike Oliveira and Omar Campos, boatloads faster, boatloads more aggressive, and it was the exact shot in the arm that we needed.
No, 100%. And that's something that we have to think about going forward. Kike Oliveira had a fantastic game. The minute he came in, he changed the absolute dynamics of things because, like you said, they got faster. You bring back Carlos Vela, you have Olivier Giroud. That slows the pace. This is a team that wants to burn you in transition. Olivier's a big body. He can sky in there for an aerial, but, Kai Kamara is just better for that, especially when we run in transition and especially when that ball gets crossed in the air and in the box. He's an aerial threat. He was that way earlier, pretty much like, who was it? He didn't dunk on anybody, but there's nothing Kyrie Shelton could have done when Kai Kamara got in the game and got the goal. So that's something that Steve's going to have to tinker with. Do we want to be fast and dynamic and just go for the jugular right off the bat? Or we do want to play a complete game and get these guys in there? Because, look, I'm sure Carlos is going to give us some quality minutes at some point when he's ready. Giroud's going to give us some quality minutes, but where we've been successful is burning teams in transition. We were totally fine before the announcement of Olivier Giroud. We were great with just Matty, with Denny, and with Kike up top. And now you kind of change that formula around, change the tempo of the game. I feel like that's what got us into a lot of trouble. These guys coming off of the pine is fine. But to me, I think you start with the young people up top and let them do their thing and bury teams early on as quick as they can.
Yeah, look, the Lakers had this problem back when they started to pair up Kobe and Shaq, right? And it was, do you run a Shaq-centric offense where you're dumping the ball inside, fewer possessions per half, but a higher percentage if you can get that ball into Shaq more often? Or do you run the run and gun with Kobe on the wing, getting the ball moving? And honestly, it's been a huge difference in play when we're using a quote-unquote true nine with Olivier Giroud and when we're using that front three that you just mentioned of Matty Bogusz, of Denis Bouanga, of Kike Oliveira. But I really think, Philly, it comes down to missing how much we have truly missed. And I know David Martinez recently had a good match, but how much we have missed that breakneck pace and speed with the deft touch that Kike Oliveira has now brought to us since he came back from the Uruguayan national team. It's just one of those things, Philly, that I think it's been undervalued so much until we lost it, that touch, that finesse, and then that breakneck speed from Kike Oliveira.
I mean, the kid was good. He was it's funny how quickly he turned things around. We were seeing him basically being on the Brian bus. But now he comes in, the crowd loves it. It's just great. And speaking of crowd, man, how funny was it? I mean, I know that we should probably say this for the trophy ceremony, but man, how funny was it when they announced Don Garber at the trophy presentation? Everybody erupted in boos. Nobody should have gotten more boos than Armando Villarreal, the guy who was the referee in that game. There were just so many blatantly blown calls on there. Like, I don't even know why it was. This guy's normally pretty good at all things being fair. He just officiated such such a crap game. But anyway, we
And,
digress.
and Philly, I was shocked Don Garber was there. I
What, do you
really
think he'd
thought,
be at Lower.com Field to see the
absolutely,
Columbus Crew beat Club America? That's such a good feeling. We win
absolutely.
a final and the Columbus Crew lost. I don't have a thing against the Crew. I like Wilfred Nancy. That's a talented team, but I want them to feel the sting of losing in a final, something that we're actually somewhat familiar in, if not experts in that matter. I'm glad the tables turned around. I'm glad they lost a final and we won. Now, I don't care for Club America. Wouldn't be the team in Liga MX I would support, but either way, it's pretty cool to see the Crew lose.
Yeah, and you could already hear the fans down in Carson or the MLS, the RMLS people out there. Oh, well, of course, you put Columbus up against Sporting in a final. It's going to be very different than putting LAFC up against Club America in a final. Look, you play the hand you're dealt. And the fact that we were able to win one, we won it 3-1 going away because eventually, you know what? We wore Sporting down. We did what we had to do. Look, 1-1, and it stayed 1-1 for quite a while, Philly. In fact, it stayed 1-1 through the end of the second half, even though they brought on Willie Agata, who very physical player, Willie Agata.
Also very cowardly too, by the way.
Yeah, look, I'm not a big fan of Willie Agata, but bringing Ilie Sanchez on for Aaron Long in the 87th minute, we were kind of talking about, well, wait a minute, if we're bringing Ilie on and we're taking off Aaron Long, who did look like he had a little bit of a lower body extremity injury, maybe a little hamstring, maybe a little cramp, whatever it might have been. So it'll be interesting to see how available he is for Cincinnati's game on Saturday. But bringing Ilie into the midfield, what that wound up doing is moving Sergi Palencia to a 3 in the back while Omar Campos and Ryan Hollingshead were on the outside. And holy crap, if Sergi Palencia might not have been our most offensive center back that we've had all season.
Oh, were you prompting me to say something? I'm sorry.
I mean, I stopped talking, so I thought you.
Yeah, fair. No, I was. I actually had as we were talking about the Crew game, I had totally forgotten about the Canadian Championship. So might as well say it. Vancouver beat Toronto 4-2 in penalties. So they are your Canadian champions. So just
Philly, not only are they your Canadian champions, they're your three-peat Canadian champion.
Yes, three-peat. You talk about Sergi Palencia. There was one play. I forgot what minute it was. Obviously, we're going to be going into extra time with the rest of this conversation. But at one point, Timothy Tillman got dispossessed again. And it's like, God damn it, not again. These guys are on a counter. But then Sergi Palencia got the ball right back. He had a tremendous game. He is such a solid and consistent defender. He's one of those guys that anytime he's playing, I feel pretty good about it. Like, there are some players, some defenders out there that make me a little nervous when they start the game, hell, even when they have the ball. But when Palencia has it, I feel a sense of calm. He distributes the ball real well. He's a hell of a team player. He's got a great football IQ. He's just a joy to watch. If there's any young kids out there that want to learn who to model their game after, if they're center back, Sergi Palencia is the person to look at as far as LAFC is concerned.
And Philly, what I love is in our chat right now, by the way, props to everybody who is with us at 1:47 in the morning. In the chat, we have Denis Bouanga getting man of the match because of FOTMob and 8.7 and all that stuff. We have Omar Campos getting man of the match from many of you out there. We have Kai Kamara getting man of the match from many of you out there. My personal pick for man of the match, Sergi Palencia. I mean, Philly, when was the last time over the last month or so of soccer that we were tripping over ourselves to pick which player who played so well for us in the course of 90 and now 120 minutes for player of the match, right? The last couple times it's been, well, you know, at least Denis played well, or at least this happened, or at least that happened. And look, our friends over at Happy Foot Sad Foot, they mentioned, don't forget Hugo Lloris. Hugo Lloris puts up another fantastic match and does everything. How nice is it, Philly, as we'll head into stoppage or to added time, the 30 minutes you play after 90 minutes when you're tied. How amazing is it that we're able to talk about how many different players are truly deserving of this man of the match?
Yeah, it just goes back to what Steve said at post game, that the boys wanted to win. They absolutely wanted to win. It was a total team effort. There were so many games in the past where had Denny not scored, we would have been cooked. He doesn't have to do that in order for us to win. He can facilitate, and we could be perfectly fine. Matty Bogusz picked things up. Christian Oliveira picked things up. Timothy Tillman starts scoring goals. Now we're a dynamic team that's not just relying solely on one player to be the entire offense. And that's when I think we're at our best. 2019, it was all Carlos. One of the best seasons of any individual player in Major League Soccer. But that didn't win us a championship. All it did was win us a supporters shield. Still went down in the Western Conference Finals to Seattle. I still feel the sting of that game. But when you have multiple options, multiple threats, and not just one player doing everything, that's the makings of a championship team. And today they played with grit. You said it, 7 minutes after they score, they get smacked in the face. Sporting Kansas City coming back. 3 games ago, I would have been like, okay, LAFC is going to crumble under this pressure. The exhaustion, the this, the that, the whoosies, the floozies, the whateversies. But they came back into it. And within that extra time worked out really well for us. Of course, it was going to be extra time. Midweek melee, hump day, havoc, whatever you want to call it. We all got work in the morning. There was no way we were getting out of BMO early. LAFC wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, and look, Kai Kamara comes in at the start of this 30-minute period. Look, things that we didn't know we had, Philly, coming into this match were Sergi Palencia at center back and a right-footed goal from Omar Campos. Steve Cherundolo said he had never seen Omar Campos touch the ball with his right foot.
Yeah, never fired a shot off the right foot, let alone touch it.
Ryan Hollingshead said he's never seen him touch the ball with his right foot. He was pretty funny. He told him in Spanish, like, I think you used the wrong foot. It was a really cool moment in the press conference. I would have loved to have had Omar to talk about it. That would have been cool. But Philly, it had an XG of 0.09. I mean, 9% of the time it's a goal, especially because Omar Campos uses his right foot. You couldn't tell. You didn't know it was his non-dominant foot. He was incredible on this goal. And look, my favorite, right, Philly, was Steve Cherundolo saying, look, Omar Campos doesn't always listen to me. And he definitely wasn't listening to me there, but whoever he was listening to, let's hope he listens to that person again on Saturday. I love it. I absolutely love it. And you know what, Philly? To think about Omar Campos at the start of the season, and how it affected him. And we thought, is this kid going to recover? He's 22. He's a young kid. Is he going to be able to recover? All questions have now been answered. Omar has been great for the last couple of months or so anyway. But Philly, Omar Campos, the game-winning goal for LAFC in this cup, it came out of nowhere, and I'm so happy for the kid.
It did come out of nowhere. And for me personally, watching it, I felt like that just time slowed down with the way the play developed. I mean, Denny had it in the box. Eventually, Oliveira had it, nowhere to go, circles himself outside, dumps it off to Omar, and then he just gets right by Zoran Basong, who obviously just didn't have enough gas in him. He got subbed out shortly after that. But then he fires away to the far right of Tim Melia, and it just, with his right foot, it just looked and seemed awkward, which is probably why I thought the game, that motion turned into that play turned into slow-mo. But man, for all the crap that he's endured, and you said it, I mean, that he just looked like a deer in the headlights anytime the forwards and other teams would just attack his side of the pitch. I mean, go back to the Galaxy game. I mean, they kept attacking him, and that's how they ended up scoring 4 goals. But for all that nonsense, I'm happy for the youngster. I mean, the kid's only 22 at the end of the day. He had a big shot. Everybody on the team was massively happy for him. You could see as they were celebrating and hugging him, and that was a big, big moment, man. But that wouldn't be the end of it as we head into the second half of extra time, as Gypsy Kings Bamboleo playing in the background. Bamboleo basically could be roughly translated into rolling, in a quote, not only Gypsy Kings, but Limp Bizkit. We were rolling through Sporting Kansas City, baby. Oh, yeah.
And he talked about it in the press conference. He went to high school down the road at Lusinger High School in Lawndale, where I live. He went to Cal State Dominguez Hills down in Carson, which we don't hold against him.
He worked for them as a
He
janitor during the Beckham years. I don't know if you knew this.
Oh, yeah. We've mentioned
Kamara
it.
was a Galaxy employee.
Yeah, we've
Back in the
mentioned it on
day.
the pod a bunch. Playing for the OC Blues. I mean, Kai Kamara being able to come back home to a club that he has said over and over again that he followed while he was playing for other clubs and was envious of all of the pictures of the players with their families on the pitch and in the locker room. His kids were there tonight. His son was next to him in the press conference. I actually asked his son a question in the press conference tonight. Kai Kamara was bordering on tears when he was talking about what it meant for him, not just to raise the Open Cup, which, by the way, the U.S. Open Cup, the only trophy Kai Kamara had ever won before tonight, but not just to raise the cup, not just to play well in front of his family, but to score a goal in front of your kids, both of whom, especially his son, are old enough to get it. It's just all the right feels in all the right places. So incredibly stoked for Kai Kamara. And look, it's what we've been waiting for Olivier Giroud to do time and time again, but it's now what we've kind of sort of come to expect from the 40-year Philly. He's joined us on the fourth floor, the 40-year-old Kai Kamara coming through for LAFC.
Came in big time, man. And just the way that play developed was a thing of beauty. Ryan Hollingshead had the first handle of it, getting the ball over to Denny Bwanga. And if you go back and you watch the replays of it, Kai was way outside of the box. He wasn't even a part of the play. Everything developed from the right side. Then he kind of casually, was picked his head up. I forget exactly which defender he had on him. He is a good dude. Jason McNook in the house. Still got the jersey up there, buddy. But go back to watch the play. Way outside of the box. But like he sees the opening. He lifts his arm up to kind of catch the attention of Denny Bwanga. Kyrie Shelton's the only defender that's back there between him and Melia. And Shelton had no opportunity to make that play or to even block Kai, period. When Kai's up in the air, forget about it. You're going to get dunked on. It's an inevitability. And while Shelton didn't exactly get dunked on, Sporting Kansas City did get scored on. 3-1, Scarf Stradamus back in the house. The nail in the coffin, Sporting Kansas City. And I don't feel like I've ever been as excited to beat a 12th place team.
And Philly, a couple things I would like to point out. I'm sure you may actually cover this when you go over stats, but over the 30 minutes of added time, extra time, whatever the heck it's called, I don't see any shots on target for Sporting Kansas City. LAFC did exactly what they had to do. And the other thing that I would just like to point out, Philly, shocked me because I didn't even look to see if he was in the 18. So this is on me. But a player wearing number 5 trots out, and I was like, wait a minute.
Mamadou Fall?
Isn't that right? I was like, isn't that Marlon? Hold on. When did we got a Marlon sighting, Philly?
Yeah, he had a white bib or penny on the entire time. Remember when I was going back to saying, oh, he's like really part of this team, affectionate, hugging his player. Like I'm looking around, like at first glance, is that an LAFC 2 player I've never seen? Then I'm like, no way, not with like, the thighs that guy has. And then I realized that's Marlon. He came onto this club kind of quietly. I'm pretty sure the last time we were at an LAFC game, the idea was we don't know when his P1 visa is going to clear, let alone him coming in the 111th minute. But it's pretty cool to see him. Not too much. He wasn't involved in too much, not a body of work to really observe anything. But, I mean, he's played for some pretty big clubs. He's played in Champions League. He was on Ukrainian giants Shakhtar Donetsk. He's seen some stuff. So looking forward to seeing what he could bring to the table. And I would venture to say he'd probably get a few minutes in TQL Stadium against FC Cincinnati. At least I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I mean, look, with Aaron Long, maybe not 100%. With Eddie Segura, you never know. Just wanted to run real quickly through. Dejan Jakovic wore 5 before Mamadou Fall, and then Mamadou Fall wore 5 from 2020 all the way through 2023. and now Marlon being the third player in LAFC history.
God, if we'd gotten to that point,
to win,
we've gotten to these points. Like yeah, it's crazy. What do you think of when you see 23?
20, I mean, Michael Jordan?
No, for LAFC.
No, for LAFC, look, 23, to me, I'll go with Laurent Simon back in the day. That's the original 23.
That makes you a true OG. I mean, there's people out there that don't even know who Laurent Simon was.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of people that do remember who he was and want to forget about him because with the way he ended up leaving. But whatever.
Well, and I know when you see 23, you think of Pablo Cisniega, clearly, right? So
I like Pablo Cisniega, actually a really nice guy. I don't know. He's somewhere toiling around in the USL, I believe.
Yeah, no, he is. You're thinking Kellen Acosta, right, Philly? 23.
Yeah, I was thinking Kellen Acosta, exactly.
San Antonio FC, by the way.
All right.
Would be where Pablo
Soccer
Cisniega
USA, here's Hello Kitty for you, and she does have a message for the millions.
and millions.
LAFC is the best. To hell with the rest. Go black and gold.
And look, we see it out over the course of a dominant 30 minutes, 2 goals scored. My only question is, where the hell was that during regular time? But that's fine.
Whatever.
It doesn't matter. Look, a 3-1 victory, lifting the cup. And now my club, our club, Philly, and the tournament that I love so much, we can say before Don Garber tries to kill the damn thing, and I loved Kai Kamara's quote at the end of the night where he said, Don Garber better not try to take the MLS out of the U.S. Open Cup. Look at how much it means. I love you, Kai Kamara, for telling Don Garber what he's doing wrong, because I try to do it and he doesn't listen to me. You have a little bit bigger of a platform, sir, so keep it up. Just the fact that our club, Philly, is going to forever be associated with winning the United States Open Cup, the longest running contested trophy in the United States. Just so cool that we get to say that we are part of the history of that.
Yeah. Tournament. We just need 4 more of these, and then we're up there with Bethlehem Steel. So let's gun for it. But as a result of us winning the Open Cup, here's a stat for you. We've become the 4th team in MLS history to win the Open Cup, the Supporters Shield, the MLS Cup in a 3-year span, and the first since Seattle did it back in 2014, 2016, which isn't a long time ago, but either way, the 4th team to do so. So for anybody out there that says LAFC is not a successful club, not a big club, again, I only have 2 hands, but multiply these middle fingers times infinity, and that's what I have to say to you haters out there. I'm not talking about haters within our community. I mean, right now, the toxicity is gone. I'm talking about everybody else, because everybody hates Hollywood FC right now because we spend all the money. We have this. Oh, they do that. Whatever. That just means we're far more ambitious than a lot of other clubs. Who doesn't want to support an ambitious club? We all got in for the most part on the ground floor when we had no idea what to expect. And our patience, our love for this club, it's paying off. Tonight's one of those nights where we get to enjoy that.
You mean this morning is one of those mornings?
Oh, God, it's 2:02 a.m. My Lord.
As we cross the 2 a.m. mark, by the way, it looks like Pablo Cisniega has lost his starting job to Richard Sanchez, who is one of the worst keepers I've ever seen play in all of my years watching MLS. He's god-awful. So hopefully Pablo can get his job back. But it doesn't matter what's happening over at San Antonio FC. Philly, we get to go back to BMO Stadium. My favorite part is, if you look up over where the press box is, above the southwest corner of the stadium, we've got a banner for winning 2022 MLS Cup. We've got a banner for winning supporter shields, but we don't have a banner that lists Open Cup wins. We get to make a brand new banner and put that up over there on the side, because now we get to start counting the amount of Open Cup wins that we have, in addition to all of the other fantastic trophies that we have won. I know they call the Western Conference like it's a trophy. It's not.
It's a trophy, dude. It's a trophy.
Yeah, it's not.
It's a trophy.
Yeah. Either way. look, the big news is this. They got to buy a new banner. And anytime we can get LAFC's front office to spend more money on decorations because we win stuff, that's a good night.
Well, yeah, they obviously aren't going to make any complaints about that. This Open Cup run, I didn't realize how dominating we were. I mean, scoring obviously we went 5-0-0 in it. 13 goals while conceding 3. That's pretty darn good when you really think about it. And here's a couple other fun facts for you all. Giroud has now played in 2 finals for LAFC, and Giroud has scored in each of them. Think about that for a second. Leagues Cup and Open Cup. Giroud scores. Isn't that something? That's kind of cool. So that's a fun little fact for you. With the goal that Omar Campos had, that's his first LAFC career goal. Pretty darn cool. I mean, there's just so many cool things to go around. Kai Kamara, here's another one. Became the oldest player at age 40 to score a goal in the Open Cup final. How wild is that? At 40, I'm limping around tirelessly or endlessly. I don't know. I've been limping around a lot. But Kai Kamara scoring goals in the U.S. Open Cup. Just so much cool stuff and so much to be proud of. And it's just feels really good.
And look, here's what the other thing I love about something like the Open Cup. We had 9 different players score a goal in the 5 matches we played in the Open Cup. 9 different players score a goal. We're talking about a club, Philly, that you and I were talking about. Are they deep enough to really make a run? Are they deep enough to do anything come playoff time? Well, that question has been answered. 9 different players. Kike Oliveira with 3 goals, second in the tournament this year. Kai Kamara, Timothy Tillman, each with 2. Tomas Angel, that's right, Tomas Angel. Matty Bogusz, Denis Bouanga, Omar Campos, Olivier Giroud, and David Martinez. The players who are scoring can use those as a springboard the way that we hope, Philly, LAFC uses this match as a springboard for the rest of the regular season and through MLS Cup playoffs.
Yeah. I just realized one other thing when going through this list of fun stuff to talk about. Ryan Hollingshead, Kai Kamara, and Ilie Sanchez. This is their second time winning the Open Cup. I completely forgot about Hollingshead.
Hollingshead beat Kai Kamara in 2016 for the US Open Cup.
Yeah, it's just wild. Even the last time Sporting Kansas City won the US Open Cup, I mean, there was so much LAFC influence on that in that game. From Bradley Wright Phillips scoring for the energy drinks to Latif Blessing scoring the first goal for Sporting Kansas City. At this point, we've been around a little while where, that black and gold influence, back then there wasn't a thing, but sorry, our boys are all spread out and I don't know, it's fun. I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying life. I don't even know if I'll be able to go to sleep tonight. I have to. I'm calling a game at UC Riverside tomorrow. Big West home opener on ESPN. I hope I have a voice to do it. Kickoff's at 7:30 if you want to watch.
I'm teaching a math class in 6 hours.
Gross.
Look, you guys, we had so much fun with this episode. We're happy to be back as a nocturnal podcast for one night only. Andy, this one, you know what? Might as well be for you, my friend, because we know we are your favorite nocturnal podcast, in addition, of course, to being the podcast that your mother's warned you about. Philly, an incredible
middle
win.
Finger to the haters.
An incredible win, an incredible night at BMO Stadium. And I mean, my goodness, man, just so cool to be able to watch LAFC on our own pitch lift another trophy.
Campeones, campeones, ale, ale, ale. Yeah.
Love it. Jason, happy 40th birthday. Oh my God, Jason McNook's 40th birthday.
You turned 40, you old bastard. Welcome to the 4th floor. We've been waiting on you.
I love it. Ricardo, oh my God, dude, working. So this is his lunch podcast. I love it. I'm sorry that it's your lunchtime right now. It's past our bedtimes, y'all, but please hit us up in the chat. Let us know what you thought about this match. Let us know how you're feeling, and we hope you all enjoyed this 2 o'clock in the morning podcast.
So that's the cue to shut it off. You don't want to keep going?
I got nothing left.
All right, fine. And again, we're champions. U.S. Open Cup champions 2024. Enjoy it today, tomorrow, Saturday, we take on FC Cincinnati, and we show that blue and orange team who the real team is in Major League Soccer. All right, I'm going to ramble on if I keep talking. All right, goodbye. Good night. Seizure time.
Bye.